Alright, you guys, welcome back to another video. And today, I wanted to talk a little bit about silver meshing and the testing that's going on in the Evocati. Now, to kind of give some backstory to what's going on at CitizenCon, we saw for the first time silver meshing working in the CitizenCon presentation. But that was kind of a simple demo of what CIG planned for the technology as a whole. So the demo that they showed at CitizenCon didn't really have all of the entities that we have in the live servers right now, and it didn't have the same services. So a big part of the game is running the services, that is missions, that is entitlements, that's the NPCs, and we know how big problem that has been with live. So a big deal is to figure out how to have these services running correctly. So after the CitizenCon demo, CIG talked a lot about the replication layer. The story with that is that in silver meshing, to have silver meshing work correctly, they need to separate the game services from the game simulation. And so the game services is known as the replication layer. So if a server goes down that is managing all of the game simulation, a new server can be brought up and it can just pull the information from the replication layer that has the entity graph and all the other services running in the background, and it can put you back where you left off. Separating the replication layer from the simulation servers is a big deal, and CIG did some testing of that with recovery turned off. And again, recovery is essentially where the server meshing technology, the replication layer technology, whatever, essentially puts you back where you left off by reading the data off of the entity graph. So the first iteration was just the separation of the simulation and the replication layer. But CIG wanted to test recovery. So recovery is essentially where the server meshing technology will read the information from the entity graph and the replication layer and put you back where you left off. And so CIG planned on implementing that in 321, and they missed that target. And then they planned on implementing that in 322, and they missed that target. So now they are shooting for 323 to have the replication layer split. So right now when we're playing on live, the replication layer is not split from the game servers. Okay. So they had a test of the recovery technology, and that first test, players were reporting 3 to 5 minute wait in between a server crashing and a new one being spooled up and them being put back where they were. So right now, when a server crashes, that's called a 30K, and there are elements of players getting this stuff back and being put back where they left off right now, but that is just essentially the services reading the data off of the entity graph and putting players back in. That's not a separation of the replication layer. So we have a bit of that right now, but that is not considered. I know it's kind of confusing. That's not really considered the replication layer split and recovery. That is just kind of like a temporary recovery. For a long time, if a server crashed and you were holding cargo, you lost that, and it was a big issue, and CIG had like a stopgap solution for that. And that in and of itself is a big deal, because it means that there's a bit of protection from that. Now, that working is kind of a bit of a hit and miss in my opinion. Sometimes that doesn't always work for me, but it's better than nothing, obviously. So now they had a second test, and that test was a lot more problematic. Players, reported being down for like 30 minutes. Some players said that they never got back in. So that was kind of a problematic second test. Now their plan was with the Evocati to essentially test out silver meshing, which is essentially you have a server handling the Stanton star system simulation and another server handling the Pyro star system simulation, and a single replication layer handling both star systems, and that makes up one instance of the game. That makes up one game instance. So one game instance is essentially a called a shard. So there will be multiple shards of game instances that combine Stanton and Pyro on the one replication layer, but each star system has their own server. I hope that makes sense. I know it is kind of all over the place. There are other games that have server meshing type technology, but it's very different from the way CIG is doing it with Star Citizen, because obviously there are so many entities that have to be handled in this game. Again, other companies have come up with really interesting solutions for systems like this, but CIG getting this working could be huge. Now, this is static silver meshing. Dynamic silver meshing is a bit different. It is where the game spools up a server based on player population. So if there is a lot of players on Microtech, for instance, they may spool up multiple servers for Microtech. There might be, a bunch of people having a ship meet in a green area on Microtech. Or a good example of this is distribution centers. Distribution centers will be massive play spaces. So technically, if there's a big raid going on at a distribution center on Microtech, the game services can spool up a server that is dedicated for that distribution center, and those people will be on their own server, while people, in New Babbage or at the spaceport will be on a different server. But you'll still be able to go between the two places seamlessly. So that is the whole idea with dynamic server meshing. Static is just going to be for specific places. Now, it can get more granular, where instead of just a server for Stanton and Pyro, they may down the line do a server for Microtech, Crusader. They might do a server for each planet, each moon, but it depends on how testing and this technology went. So how did this first test go? Well, a lot of people, a lot of Evocati are reporting that it went pretty good. It went smooth. There are some things that I want to kind of cover and go over in the playtest kind of aftermath. Okay, the Evocati playtest is now closed. Static silver meshing tech preview playtest. Again, this is just for Evocati, but CIG recently updated the terms of the Evocati agreement. It is an NDA where they are not allowed to show footage and talk about the testing that they're doing. Again, this is an unpaid position, but these players like to do this because they're passionate about the game and they want the game to do well. And obviously there are some kind of behind the scenes stuff that CIG isn't ready to show just yet, but they want players to have an opportunity to test out and give their feedback. And so the Evocati's primary job is to give feedback. They're not really QA testers, but more like balance testers, okay? Because Evocati is not really in a quality state. It is a more kind of unstable build of the game. Now, I personally am not an Evocati. I'm just a regular player, just like you. So I don't have access to this. So we're just going to kind of go over what the patch notes are, what the aftermath report is, and what other actual Evocati are saying about this playtest and how it went. Okay, static silver meshing, 2 DGS, Stanton and Pyro. That is designated game server, and for Stanton and Pyro with crash recovery. So basically, if you crash, if one server crashes, it will come back up, and that will be isolated from the other star system. And we'll kind of talk about how that went in this video as well. General gameplay interaction. Okay, tech preview channel, all that stuff. The build. It was a 4-hour playtest, so it wasn't kind of like a long thing. Okay, so the known issues is Pyro's missions were not currently being offered, and we'll talk about how that went as well. Stanton based missions may be offered in Pyro but will not be completable. So that is, again, kind of evidence to the fact that both star systems are sharing the same game services. So again, the game services are, the NPCs, the missions, and the entitlements, getting your ship and all that kinds of stuff. So both star systems are sharing the same services. So there is that kind of overlapping of missions and certain things, which is an interesting kind of side effect that I didn't even think about. While server class recovery is enabled, not all gameplay systems will recover gracefully. So they wanted to know if there were any issues with how recovery went. So basically, when you come back in the game, let's say something happened, or you decide to bedlog or whatever, what is the state that you come back in the game with? Do you have all your weapons or your armor? Is the inventory still working? That type of thing. Those are all of the systems that are shared between the two star systems. So if one server goes down and you have all your entitlements on that one server, again, that's being able to call your ship and, being able to access your inventory and do all this kind of stuff. If those systems are still working with recovery, that gives them a lot of information to know how the test is actually doing. So while the Stanton Pyro jump points are present in this build, they are non-functional, and attempting to use it may result in graphical anomalies. We know this is very exciting, and we look forward to testing this with you soon, but please avoid them for now. Okay, so the jump gate, the jump points, all that stuff, that is apparently there, but there are issues with it, so they said don't use it. People have been staying away from it. I believe that no Evocati tried it. Okay, the jump drive UI that you may see in some vehicles is a placeholder. Okay, so that is interesting. There is some UI update in this as well, but this is a build. This is a specific build of both Stanton and Pyro. So basically, the Evocati reports was saying that Pyro is not finished. The state that Pyro is in this build specifically is not even as good as the Pyro playtest. Again, missions are not available for this, and that was a big part of Pyro and the Pyro playtest, is you could do things in there. Reports from Evocati are saying that people were trying to salvage and mine, but again, with no missions, there wasn't a whole lot to do. Some people are saying that it was, again, it was only the inner planets, like the Pyro playtest. And if you remember, the Pyro playtest were only the inner planets of Pyro and not the further planets that are actually closer to the jump point. And it is, almost impossible. It is very difficult to get to those other planets from the inner planet because Pyro is so large. So a lot of people didn't get to the jump points. A lot of people didn't get to those planets, and so it is a specific build. It I believe is like a pre-Pyro playtest or Pyro playground build of Pyro. It may be the same build as the Pyro playtest, but just with other missions. And then of course Stanton is 322 Stanton, not 323 Stanton. So this version of Stanton does not have distribution centers and all that stuff that we're getting in 323. So it is basically the versions of both star systems that we currently know about. So there are not a lot of new things to test. They really just wanted to see if the services were working. Okay. Pyro or Stanton may be selected when joining the game. It is not currently possible to travel between them. Okay, so they're saying that the jump points don't really work. It just glitches out graphically. You cannot jump from one server to another server yet. Which is something that, again, they show that CitizenCon, we know that that's seamless, but that transition, that handoff is a little bit different when you have those services in play. So I think that may be not too far from future testing. And of course, now that Evocati can talk about it, they might share what that experience is like. I don't know how CIG is going to handle it. That's why I think it's very interesting that they've kind of opened up the NDA a little bit and allow Evocati to talk about it, because obviously when the jump gates come in, they're going to need Evocati to test it, and Evocati is going to talk about what it looks like, even though they can't show what it looks like. But I don't think that was going to spoil anything for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are very excited about going through the jump gate into Pyro. But yeah, some people in Evocati may experience that before others. So once you've chosen your starting system, it will not be possible to change it later. Okay, so when they went in the game, you choose the Pyro star system, and that's kind of it. You're in Pyro now. But you can choose what star system you want to go to from the start menu. And I believe that is going to be the case when Pyro comes out. There may be an option to have your starting location in Pyro. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wipe, for 4.0. Again, 4.0 will be a big release for the game. I think it is, kind of sensible. It is kind of assumed that there will be a wipe for 4.0. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you're able to select Pyro as your starting location. But I think a lot of people will just still select Stanton because they want to go through the gate. But I don't know. You might be able to select Ruin Station as your starting location versus, the rough and ready outposts. But yeah, so to talk about the Evocati experiences a little bit, I know that one of the most popular reviews of the playtest was, Salty Mike's server and what happened on his shard, on the shard that he was playing on. So people said essentially that they were getting people in Pyro were getting Stanton missions, but of course no way to complete those missions on Houston when they were in Pyro. And somebody in Stanton got a mission for Pyro, and again, that's very interesting because both star systems, even though they're on different servers, they're being handled by the same services. And so CIG kind of has to pass how missions are handled to be more localized. Again, I don't know what technology they're going to implement to do that, if they have to make new technology to be able to handle the services between multiple star systems. Because again, this has to be something that's scalable. Because if you do a static mesh for, let's say, Microtech and Crusader, you want the missions to be localized for Crusader. If that's the case, in certain cases you will get missions around the area that you're in. So I think that getting the services locked down, especially in various star systems, when they add multiple star systems, Nix and whatever star systems they add after, it will be potentially game breaking if you get a mission in Magnus when you're on Terra or something like that. So that's definitely something that they got to figure out. Another thing that people were saying in the Evocati is that uh, on Salty Mike's shard, on the shard that he was on, that the Stanton system server went down and the Pyro system server stayed up. So people were still playing in Pyro without an issue, while people in Stanton, their server crashed and recovery was turned on. So that means that a new server was spooled up for the Stanton system and people were put back in. Now the time in between was about 2.5 to 3 minutes, people are saying, and that is much better than the last recovery playtest that they had, which again, like I mentioned, some people waiting 30 minutes, some people never got back in. And so what a lot of people kind of feel like is that a delay of 30 seconds, maybe even a whole minute, is kind of okay, especially if it's a situation where it's for everybody, in the star system. If a server is handling all of Stanton and all of Stanton goes down for a minute or something like that, it's not a big deal. Now, it kind of puts into question what is going to happen to somebody who is in the jump gate when a server goes down between two star systems. So let's say that Pyro is a different server, Stanton's a different server, and they have, of course, the jump tunnel in between the two of them, connecting them. Let's say that you're in the Stanton system, you go in the jump tunnel, maybe you're halfway through, I don't know, and the Stanton system goes down. What happens to you? Is there like a halfway point where you're in the jump tunnel and half of the jump tunnel length is in the Stanton system and half of the jump tunnel length is in the Pyro system server? And if you are in the jump tunnel and you're in the Stanton system server side, you crash out, or are you safe in the jump tunnel in between? Because the jump tunnel is not its own server, so I don't know. I don't know how that works. That is something that they're not testing in this, of course, but it is something that, a question that I feel like is raised from this test that I didn't think about before, honestly. And so I think that the test went well for a lot of people. They were able to do missions in Stanton. People were able to take missions in Stanton. That was working. But I think that it went well. I think we can see some issues with the services that CIG has to iron out. So, of course, it is very good that they had this test and were able, to have players actually do things in the game. And it seemed like it worked and ran smoother than the previous replication layer separation tests with recovery. So they're slowly making progress. Now, the plan is for silver meshing and Pyro to come out summer this year. We'll see how that goes. We know that they have, a lot of content, a lot of features coming out with 3.23. That is going to be a big launch. Having 4.0 come out summer this year is very ambitious. I think that obviously, technically, it is a much bigger leap than 3.23, but 3.23 has a lot of content coming with it. So whatever comes in 3.23 with the new inventory systems, because remember, the cargo elevators and the physicalization of everything in the game is potentially going to be more of a more, it is more services that has to be handled by the shard than what we currently have, and it is a different set of services that has to be handled. So let's say that entitlements and your itemization, your all that stuff works good in this version of your inventory that still needs to be retested for the new inventory system and the new cargo system and the new physicalization with ship elevators and whatnot. So CIG has said that I believe that vehicle calling vehicles up in the hangar is not going to be working in this in the initial implementation of instance hell or hangars. But again, I'm not sure. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below if you know more about that. But I think that obviously those are brand new services that hasn't been tested yet, and I feel like we may need more time testing those services with the new shards and server meshing than a month or two. So I don't know what other content is coming out in 4.0. Again, we're supposed to get a bunch of ships too. So CIG has an interesting road ahead of them. I do not envy their jobs at all right now. They must be kind of stressing. But it's exciting for the community. This year, it's said to be the watershed year for Star Citizen. So far, it's March. And we're fingers crossed. We're seeing good things on ISC. A lot of people are talking about master modes. I made a video about it, and everybody is giving their opinion, and that's very exciting because we want this game to be the best that it could be. I'm excited about it. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Were you excited about this playtest? Was there anything that happened that you didn't expect to happen? Where do you think CIG goes from here? I want to hear from you guys. I love talking to you guys. You guys have been going crazy on the videos, commenting, liking, engaging with each other and me. I love to see we're building a little community here on this channel, and it's exciting. I love hanging out with you guys. That's why I make these videos. You guys inspire me to make more content for you guys. So yeah, I want to hear from you. But that's gonna be it for me here today in this video, you guys. Like I always say at the end of these videos, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Salute.